Hey everybody, Crash Hardy here with another pro wrestler interview, and today we have none other than WWE legend Tatanka. Tatanka, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's an honor to be on Crash Hardy on YouTube. Looking forward to all your questions and speaking to all the great listeners out there.
All right, well, my first question is how did you get into the wrestling business?
Well, that's absolutely awesome and great question. I was working as divisional manager of Bally's Corporation, big health club organization down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and seemed like every time I went to Blockbuster Video, I kept running into a young kid, and it just wasn't once or twice. It was many, many times, and he kept telling me, "You should be a pro wrestler. You should be a pro wrestler." At that time, I wasn't an avid wrestling fan like that. I'd been involved with wrestling, but not watching WWF every Saturday morning. I was also trying out for the Miami Dolphins at that time and competing with bodybuilding, so I was in great shape. So the guy who was seeing me said, "Hey, you should be a pro wrestler. You're in great shape." So I was trying out for the Dolphins. So to get to the chase, finally what I said is, "Listen, if you really know someone big in the business, who is he? Let's go meet him." Well, come to find out, I went down to Fort Lauderdale, beautiful house on the Intercoastal Waterway, and my first introduction into this business was one of the greatest names, Hall of Famer, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, who, of course, Ric Flair, I won't say copied, but learned so much from, and look what Ric Flair has done with the Nature Boy. So the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was my first contact. Even though we had a great night, we hit it off that night, I didn't make the decision to go into pro wrestling because I was already working at Bally's. I was already making a six-digit income. It was about a month later when Nature Boy unexpectedly came to my office, walked up the stairs, came into my office, sat down in front of me, and he said those kind of words to me that after he left, I had to make a decision to not only leave a six-digit income job. So all your listeners out there, sometimes there might be a big dream that you're chasing or something that you want to do. Sometimes you got to believe in yourself. Sometimes you got to take a big risk. You got to step out on the water and go after what you believe in your heart, what you believe in your spirit, what you're feeling, because I had to quit a six-digit job to pursue pro wrestling. It wasn't something I could come back to because there was only one spot. So after Nature Boy left that day, I made the decision to go after pro wrestling and never turn back.
Well, that's fascinating. So you actually turned down a contract offer with the Miami Dolphins, is that right?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I made the cuts with the Miami Dolphins. There was hundreds. There's probably well over maybe 1,000, 1,500 players that tried out that day. It was about 30 of them. 30 at the end of the day that they were signing to free agent deals. But at that time for football, at that time, which would have been approximately probably right around 89, because that's when I broke into the business, 88. A free agent only signed for $70,000 a year. So they offered me a $70,000 contract for the first year, and then after that, your second year, you could renegotiate for a multi-million-dollar contract if you're that good. Well, I was already working at Bally's. I was already making $100,000 a year, so I didn't want to, give up 30,000. But the company was already, they were already schooling me and getting me ready to be the area director, which was $250,000 a year. So I decided to stay at Bally's. But right at that time, shortly thereafter, is when I met Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and that's when he came into my office. I never turned back. Believe me, a little funny story. The company is owned by Italians. It was the Palombos at that time. So when I made the decision to leave, I was one of the top producers of the company. I sold over $1 million worth of business personally myself. Well, they finally flew all the heads in, all these Italians, the Palombos. They come into my office. I had 3 Italians sitting around me, making me these offers to stay, like a $30,000 a year promotion. I felt like the Godfather was making me an offer that I could not refuse. So they were trying to keep me, but like I told them, I said, "Hey, you guys did not get to the point where you got to in your life without taking risks, without believing in yourself. I got to do this." So I had to leave. I really had to leave single position that they had to fill. I couldn't come back to it. So it was really a risk-taking thing, but, it worked out awesomely because less than a year later, I signed with the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, it sounds like your decision definitely paid off, so...
it definitely paid. Yeah, it definitely paid off.
My next question is that some people may think you just played a character in pro wrestling, but that's actually not true because you actually are a Native American. And what tribe are you part of?
Great question, too. I was just speaking to our tribal headquarters yesterday. I'm an official member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, same as my family, too, my kids. They're official members of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. We're one of the largest tribes east of the Mississippi River. We got a beautiful tribal headquarters in Pembroke, North Carolina. We also have our own college, the University of North Carolina, Pembroke. So we are one of those tribes that we own our own lands. We're not on reservation lands. And a lot of Native tribes out there, they don't like that because the reservation has been a bondage to Native Americans. They call their areas communities, those that are being successful. So my tribe is a lot of workers, meaning doctors, lawyers, professors at colleges, representatives in our United States government, just a very educated tribe. We own our own land, so I'm proud to be a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina.
Well, that's really nice. And so it didn't take you very long to get into the WWF. Do you remember at all what your first meeting with Vince McMahon was like?
Oh, I remember to a T. I remembered exactly. And also just so all the listeners out there, the very first vignettes that World Wrestling Federation did on me, they did from my tribal lands. They did it with my people. I was also on the Lumber River, which is a famous river in our tribal land. So the first vignettes you see about me with World Wrestling Federation was from my tribal lands. As far as Vince McMahon goes, I only tried out once. The second time, my third trial was with Steve Skinner, the Swamp Man, chewing tobacco. What a great character. After I had my trial with them, they already knew that they wanted to hire me. Vince McMahon had me flown into Titan Towers in Stamford, Connecticut. I flew in to meet with Vince McMahon himself, and also I met with Pat Patterson. When I came to the office, it was all first class. The first thing they did was tour me around the whole office. I got to see all these cool posters on the wall. I'm walking through Titan Towers and I'm looking at Hulk Hogan. I'm looking at the Ultimate Warrior. I'm looking at Legion of Doom. I'm looking at all these cool posters of all the great superstars of the World Wrestling Federation, Macho Man. So moment,
Yep.
the street where they have their TV studios. Finally, I came back, sat down in Vince's office with him and Pat, and they talked to me a little bit. They said, listen, we're going to take you around the corner, Chris, and we're going to show you your character. I walked into the art department. They had my whole character drawn out. The same look that I have in my Legends Elite action figure that sold out, which was my last figure just about a year and a half ago, with the white tights, the brown top, the red mohawk, all of that. They had that look drawn out. They said to Tatanka, Chris, what do you think? At that time, I wasn't Tatanka. Chris Chavis. I was actually wrestling as War Eagle Chris Chavis, which was my own name that I chose it for myself. And they said, what do you think? I went, awesome. But Vince asked me a very important question next, and this could have decided my whole fate for WWF. He says, tell me, what do you think about the red mohawk? Is that something that your people did? And I told him, yes. I said, specifically, the Mohawk tribe would dye their hair red, dye their mohawks red with red berries and go into war. He says, good. He says, we want you to have your hair like that. But he said, Chris, we just don't want your hair to be like that when you wrestle. We want you to have a red mohawk all the time, going through the airports, every day, every week. He says, what do you think about that? That was a very important, loaded question, because if I would have said no, I wonder if I'd have been part of the WWF. I said, that's no problem. Now let me tell you how Vince works. That's what happened that day. I flew in from Florida as a Bally's divisional manager, meaning in management, okay, I flew into Titan Towers. You know what they had scheduled for me? Right then, they had scheduled for me in Stamford, Connecticut to go to a professional salon. I went to a professional salon, got a tight haircut with a mohawk, and they bleached my hair and gave me a red mohawk. That day, I come back to Titan Towers, and I stand right in front of Vince with a red mohawk. He gets to see the character already. I fly back to Florida with a red mohawk.
Wow. So,
Oh, you there?
yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for 2 years you went undefeated in the WWF, which is one of your biggest claims to fame. And besides Ludwig Borga, do you know any of the names that they may have considered to have ended your streak?
Well, to be honest with you, they really like Ludwig Borga. They really wanted to do something really, really big with him, but he just could not get the business down. They wanted to go with him, and they were trying to give him time to what do you want to say, get smoother in the ring, flowing better in the ring. There were great stars at that time. It's not like wrestling today. We had great workers, and I'm not taking anything away from the guys from today. I'm just saying, man, you're working in the ring with me were guys, again, like Macho Man, Mr. Perfect, Rick the Model Mortel. Great workers were working in the ring at our time, so you really had to be on top of your skill set then, and he just did not get the flow. But one thing I'm very glad with that undefeated streak that most people don't know, during that time for my first loss after 2 years, not only did it take Ludwig Borga, it took a steel chair shot to my back, plus the champion Yokozuna, plus Mr. Fuji to beat me. So it took three things. So they really protected me in that, but they love Ludwig Borga. It just did not work for him. So unfortunately, a lot of fans wish that would have been someone else that would have stuck around and it would have worked for them. But that's who the office wanted at that time. They wanted Ludwig.
Well, my next question is, what was the decision for them? Why did they decide to turn you heel and add you to the $1 Million Corporation?
Well, that's another thing, too. That was one-on-one with just nobody but Vince McMahon and myself. I'm walking at TV. I just came from being in a match on TV. Vince sees me. He calls me into his office. It's just Vince McMahon and myself. He runs the ideal by me, and as we're talking about me being a proud Native American, he's going, listen, you're a proud Native American, and Lex Luger is claiming that he's the real American. Well, he's really not the real American, Tatanka. You truly are the real American. You're the Native American. So it was a little bit more than just turning heel, and Vince knew when he looked at me too. I was kind of thinking, man, all of a sudden this is kind of being thrown in my lap, and Vince could see how I was kind of responding, because at that time I was really hot as a babyface. All my merchandise was selling out. So Vince knew what I was concerned about. He kind of seen my face. He said, listen, Chris, he said, don't even worry. Your merchandise, your sales, your pay will be the same. Sometimes people, baby faces, are concerned to be a heel because now you're not going to have all those merchandise sales. Vince says, don't worry about that. So I seen it as an opportunity to do something that most guys never do, which Vince has even told me again not too long ago, wow, there's nothing you can't do. Meaning, I went from being a great babyface to really portraying that heel, that it really worked. It really worked. At SummerSlam 1994, when we did that with Lex Luger, no one's seen it coming. It's one of the top heel moments that are talked about all the time. And it's funny that you brought that up, too, because everywhere I go all over the world, and I'm traveling weekly, that is the angle that is brought up all the time. That's how much of an impact it made with the fan base. That is what they remember, not only my 2-year undefeated streak, but that's one of biggest things they remember. So guess what? Big success. I showed that I could step onto the other side, be a heel, and guess what? It's awesome to work with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, one of the greatest wrestling managers of all time. So I'm glad that we were able to cross over and do that. Some people think, well, you know, you cross over it, you can't be a babyface. Well, look at what they do nowadays. How many times the guys go back and forth, and, you know, their careers are very, very long. So I'm glad that we did that because, again, I had the opportunity to show that I could work on both sides.
Well, in 1996, you would eventually leave the WWF. Was that your decision, or were you just let go?
No, that was a mutual decision. If you remember, at that time, even Chief Jay Strombo, who was my mentor at that time, told me personally, he said, Tatanka, it's time to take a little time and get out of here. If you remember, at the end of 96 there, going into 97, Vince McMahon and Ted Turner were busy having that TV war, and Vince himself really... You know, he was really bothered that Hogan and some of his biggest names that went to WCW. And you remember they were going back with all that commercial time, you know, trying to make Ted Turner look bad, WCW trying to make the stars of WWF look bad. You know, Vince really lost some focus there. And the agents were the one, again, Chief Jay Strombo, that told me you should take some time off. So mutually, I had some time off there, which is great. I had been very smart, put my money away, was able to start a family. I'm so glad I did because there's so many guys in our industry that they're not blessed like I am to have 4 beautiful kids, 4 awesome kids, and a wife and a family. You know, a lot of guys have been so busy because you're only 300 days a year in our business during that time. So, you know, you're not home to be there to be starting a family. So I was able to really take some time away and then come back to WWF later on in 2005.
Well, 10 years later, you would make your return to the WWE in the 2006 Royal Rumble match. What was it that brought you back to the WWE?
Well, what actually, the way I actually got started was, they called me for a very special one appearance, which was going to be at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. It was going to be involving the Eugene gold medal invitational match, which, of course, you know, him and Kurt Angle had that big storyline going at that time. If you remember, what they would do is they would invite a local hometown anybody to challenge Eugene, or at that time, before then, Kurt Angle, for the gold medal. So they would let anybody from the local hometown where they had to go challenge, at that time, Eugene. Well, guess what? It was on Mohegan Sun, native sovereign grounds. So who better? They contacted me and said, we're going to have you be the special guest that night to wrestle Eugene. Now, what happened was, it was a perfect spot because I'm on native lands. When they hit my music, it was the response from the crowd. And by the time I came through the curtain and we started talking, it went from a one appearance to they're going, listen, we need to talk to you, obviously, about a contract. Because the pop was tremendous. The fan base responded unbelievably there. So one-time appearance turned into a multi-year contract.
Well, that's interesting. I actually didn't know about that. So I'm going to ask you this because you're one of the many people who's been in a Royal Rumble match. How does that work backstage? Is it just like a big line of guys waiting to go out there?
No, it's not that. It's, again, they do, as you see with Vince, he says they pull the numbers. Numbers are pulled before the event starts, so you already know where you're going to be. You know where you're going to be, number 3 or number 4 or number 5, you know, and everybody's in their own little zone, and everybody's getting prepared for what they're getting ready to do. Not only go out and wrestle, not only be in battle, but to perform and entertain the great fans of the WWE.
Ah, that's interesting. So did they have big plans for your return after you came back? Like, what did they have planned for you?
Well, let me tell you, even with being at WWE currently at that time on a full booking contract, it's absolutely awesome because WWE is a monster. But, you know, as I travel all over the world, the biggest things and the biggest time for me will always be WWF. It was just special. It was totally different there. Everywhere I travel all over, people always talk about the 80s and 90s with all the great success of WWE. They don't talk about today's current WWE. So the plans were they just knew the fan base loved me. But the difference then compared to the current WWE, where I was just speaking to Vince McMahon before or speaking to Chief Jay Strongbow only, and also Pat Patterson, who were wrestlers who understood what wrestling fans wanted. Now you got a lot of kids, not taking anything away from them, but you got a lot of kids coming out of college. They're the people coming out of Hollywood who are the writers for the storylines. They don't understand how to truly put a great storyline together. So there were a lot of guys, including me at that time, that even though we had great responses from the fans, they just didn't know how to utilize us the best. Many stars, you know, and I can sit here and list a whole name of stars that were unhappy how they were being used during that time. When I came back, it's just the creative today is not like how it was then, okay? But also you mentioned Royal Rumble. I mean, that's another thing that they went crazy about. Even Vince brought it up to me. If you go back to that match, when I hit as far as my entry, if I recall, I think I was number 15, and it was a total surprise. When I came out, what happened was that people started doing, I was in Miami, that people started doing the Florida State war chant. They were doing it loud, the whole building. And then when I got in the ring, the two first people I met was Triple H and Carlito. So I'm messing with two of the top stars at that time, and they're doing this war chant. Vince went crazy. He's like, oh my gosh. But with all of that, they still did not creative do what they could have done with me and even other stars. That's how powerful it was. But again, with World Wrestling Federation, the creative was just absolutely awesome.
Well, you left the WWE again in 2007, and what was the reason for you leaving this time?
Just contract was over, and it was just a mutual agreement. And even though that I'm on contract today, I'm on a WWE Legends contract, a 10-year deal. You know, there was just nothing for me there creatively. I mean, you know, we're trying to get storylines to be done, but they're just, you know, it's just a different game there, man. It's a big, big organization. People don't realize there are probably about 30, 40 people maybe involved, all that are involved with TV production, where before it was just Vince and two other guys. It's so much easier to come to an agreement and make decisions. Now there's just so many people, it's hard to really zero in on one thing. You can watch product today compared to the product then. You had so many great storylines that people would watch and follow through each of the big pay-per-views, the four that we had then, the characters, the storylines. You know, you just don't have that today, man. So a lot of guys, that's the reason why they're not there. There are many big names that I know. They eventually just did not want to be working there anymore because it just wasn't the same as when they were originally there at World Wrestling Federation.
Well, you would, of course, make another return to the ring at WrestleMania 32, and you just kind of showed up in a battle royal with other legends like Diamond Dallas Page. What was the reason for you not having an entrance?
Well, that's only because of TV time. TV time is they had other guys there that should have had an entrance too, but they didn't get an entrance. It's TV time. Trying to get everybody in on that time slot on a WrestleMania, it's crazy. Some guys don't understand that, but you also have to understand. You're trying to do a whole show with all of that talent and be done before the clock runs out. It's not an easy task. So you got to be workable. You got to be workable and things like that. But just to be involved at WrestleMania 32, to come back at WrestleMania 32 and be part of breaking the indoor attendance record. Oh yeah, I think I'm absolutely happy that I was involved with that. Plus, my kids got to see me be in a Royal Rumble match and come down and be involved with, great superstars in the ring. Plus, Shaq O'Neal being there. I mean, it was a tremendous opportunity to be part of history, because that is a historical moment for WWE. Actually, Vince sent us all pictures and letters for thanking us for being part of breaking the indoor attendance record.
Well, that's really nice of him. My next thing I want to do, Tatanka, is a little bit of name association, if that's all right with you.
That's cool.
All right, so I will just give you a name of a wrestler, and you just give me your thoughts on them. The first one on the list is Lex Luger.
Lex sold out. That's what I tell everybody. Lex sold out. Now, all your listeners that get a kick out of it. But Lex Luger, I'd have to say, the total package always throughout his whole career. Just phenomenal in shape, and just, been a main name throughout wrestling that everyone knows.
All right. I believe the person you faced at your first WrestleMania, Rick Martel.
Unbelievable veteran. And thank you, Rick Martel.
All right. Shawn Michaels.
I should have beat him at WrestleMania 9. That's simple. I should have beat him at WrestleMania 9. I beat him twice before that. I'd already beat Shawn Michaels. It should have been a pinfall at WrestleMania 9, Tatanka being the new IC champ.
Well, I suppose you technically did beat him, but of course you didn't get the championship due to it being disqualification.
Of course.
Marty Jannetty.
I feel for that boy. I love him. I've talked to him a lot on the road. Great superstar name. Work with Shawn Michaels with a tag. I'm hoping that Marty, I'm hoping the best for Marty in his life. Let's just say that.
All right. The Undertaker.
Unbelievable name, legend, Hall of Famer, unbelievable career.
Hulk Hogan.
Everyone knows Hulk Hogan. He's the man that started pulling the horse a long time ago. You got to give credit where credit is due.
Virgil.
Virgil, wow. Virgil selling pictures in the parking lot. Virgil, thank God for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Speaking of Ted DiBiase, what about him?
Oh, tremendous manager, tremendous talent, tremendous heel.
Owen Hart.
Oh, we love him. We miss him. Tremendous man, tremendous family man, and he's so much fun to be on the road with him.
Bret Hart.
The best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
One of the best big men ever in our industry. Bam Bam Bigelow was phenomenal.
Teddy bear.
The British Bulldog.
Another tremendous talent that was just left us way too early. Tremendous talent. That whole bloodline over there from those Canadian wrestlers are just tremendous.
Mike Rotunda.
I feel for him. My heart is for him right now. God bless him and his family. Just a great loss right now, but a great legend and tremendous name in our industry too.
Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy, another great worker. He's a local North Carolina boy for me, from where I came from too. So we've always been, buddy, and thankful that us North Carolina boys are representing wrestling.
All right. Bobby Lashley.
What a monster, what a fighter, and just tremendous guy. Love Bobby.
Johnny Nitro.
Johnny Nitro, another very, very talented kid. can do anything in the ring, and always looked in phenomenal shape, even to today. Great worker.
Fit Finley.
Fit Finley, one tough wrestler, old school tough wrestler. Got a great mind for the business.
All right, Eugene.
Eugene, he just great. He played a character that really got over, just a simple character of Eugene, and it was just so innocent, but got over so big time.
Ultimate Warrior.
He is the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, he did unbelievable things at World Wrestling Federation. Just a great character that he made everyone believe that he truly was the Ultimate Warrior.
All right, Ludwig Borga.
That's a hard one. I hate, again, anyone that's not here with us that should be here. I just say missed opportunity with him. Not for me, but for him, because I just knew the company really wanted to do some big things with him.
All right, the original Doink the Clown, Matt Bourne.
Another great character that came out that everyone really loved. I mean, you had the kind of like on the slash of the evil clown, and it really worked, and the WWF really sucked it up, and he really played that character. He's the one that set the belief factor for Doink the Clown.
All right, The Miz.
Tremendous. He debuted against me. So he always looks at me and goes, my first match. So I'm happy to see all the success, because your debut and who you debut with and who helps you get over that day is key in your career. So I'm happy to see that he's done so well, but it kicked off with me.
All right, William Regal.
Another talented, true wrestler that understands the business, and just a great talent in our industry of wrestling.
All right, Mighty Yokozuna.
What a sweetheart. We miss him, so close to that family. The Samoans, I spent a lot of time with Rodney. Just an unbelievable worker, but what a sweet heart and kind guy he was.
All right, and lastly, we have another one who's no longer with us, Scott Hall.
Oh, wow. The bad guy. He just did so well. Chico. He did so well with that character. He was so happy. He did so great with Razor Ramon, and just another talent that is missed and gone way too early, but a great talent, Razor Ramon.
All right, well, Tatanka, that is all I have for you today. You've been a great guest, and thank you for doing this interview with me.
You're welcome, man. We appreciate it. Thank you to, again, all your viewers there on YouTube and all the listeners. We appreciate you guys, and have an awesome day, my friend. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right, is there anything you'd like to promote?
Well, everyone knows, again, probably the biggest place for people to reach to me is my Facebook page, because it's confirmed. I have 207,000 people there. I'm posting my office. We post there daily. If you like old school pictures, if you like about current wrestling, my son is an eighth grader this year, but for the last 2 years, he's so advanced at such a high level. He's been wrestling high school. He's a two-time All-American already. He's 14 years old. We have plenty of that information, plenty of that social media on his career. If you guys want to get to a really entertaining page that's really uplifting, encouraging, talking about believing in dreams, go to my Facebook page, which is Native Tatanka. Make sure you follow, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you share, because it's all good stuff that people love. And if you go on there and look at the comments, you'll see that we're doing the right thing there, because a lot of people are being encouraged. A lot of people are loving the content that we're posting. So Native Tatanka on Facebook. It's confirmed by Facebook with the blue check too.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you again, Tatanka. This has been a great interview.
Yeah, thank you very much. very much, man. We appreciate you. You have an awesome one. Everyone out there, you got a dream in your heart and your spirit. Go after it. Don't let fear conquer you. Chase your dreams and conquer them. You only live once. You're going to write your own story. No one else is going to write your story but yourself. Go after your dreams and accomplish what's in your heart. So thank you again. We appreciate you very much, my friend, okay?
All right. Thank you very much. I'll let you go.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, folks. That was Tatanka, a WWE wrestling legend. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you would like to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button and you will be given notifications when I upload. And if you hit the bell icon, you will also get notifications every time I upload. This might be my last interview for a little while. I might just take a little break. I've been doing a lot of these over this past month or so. And just thinking about taking a small break. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.